Welcome to the presentation based on smart searching using Google. We'll hopefully give you quite a few tips and tricks that will enable you to search more efficiently using the search engine Google. Okay, so let's jump into it. First of all, we are going to look today at a particular theme, and this is one that the Year 8 English class is investigating. Is that they're looking at investigating the book Animal Farm by the author George Orwell, and they want to relate conflict in Animal Farm to conflict which is involved in history involving people such as Nicholas, Marx, Lenin, Stalin, the Bolsheviks, Russian Revolution and communism. So that's what the students are trying to find today is understand conflict in these real-world historical concepts and be able to relate it back to the movie Animal Farm. Okay, we've got some very quick tips here on what can make your searching more efficient. First point there is you don't really need to worry so much about the spelling. Because you're going to have that within Google you've got a spell checker, so it will usually ask you, do you think the spelling should be this? Although, you know, sometimes if you spell the word horribly wrong it may get a bit confused. So spelling's not that important because it will tend to spell check you. Likewise, the case that you use when you're typing is not important either. So you put everything in capitals or in lowercase, it won't affect your search result at all. Alright, now into some of the really good tips to do with Google. Alright, the one here on more is better and less is broader is an interesting one. If we look on that, what do we mean by that? Okay, here's an example here where we've just popped into Google George Orwell. We've got about 9 million hits based on George Orwell. As you'd find most times, Wikipedia comes up first basically in just about all search engines. However, if we looked at, so that was pretty broad search, anything to do with George Orwell. If you now looked and tried to be a little bit more specific, okay, have a few more words in the search, such as George Orwell Animal Farm, you only come up with now about a third of that search results, about 3 million now based on Animal Farm. So here you can see, if you can be a little bit more specific and use a few more keywords, it is better than just an overall George Orwell. Okay, so if we now have a look at another one, and the order of words is also important. This is an interesting one. To a degree here, the order in which you write the words is quite important. Have a look here. What I've done here is I've tried to look at Animal Farm versus Farm Animal. And here we've got Farm Animal. We've got about 135 million hits on Farm Animal. Okay, yet down here if I go Animal Farm we have the same amount of hits, but you'll notice okay, even though the hits is the same, is that you're bringing up different items. Look how in Farm Animal you're bringing up Kids Farm and a farm shelter, but yet if you go Animal Farm you're getting a different set of search results. Here you've got Wikipedia or SparkNotes on Animal Farm. By the way, I've included some SparkNotes for you on Animal Farm just to give you a bit of an overview on what the book is about. So here you can see that order is very important. As we said before, being very specific is even better. So if I'm going to investigate some of the ideas on Tsar Nicholas and conflict, it would be better to put in Tsar Nicholas and conflict rather than just writing down conflict or Tsar Nicholas, okay, and then having to trawl through. So this will basically relate both of those or find articles that have all those terms in it. So you can see again being specific is very, very important. Here's another really important skill, is often we can use the plus or minus sign in our search to include those words or exclude those words. The example I'm showing above is Tsar Nicholas and conflicts, and I've got minus World War I. So in other words, I'm asking the search engine to just search for Tsar Nicholas and conflicts, but don't include anything to do with World War I. So it might be before World War I or after World War I. Okay, so you can see use of the plus or negative sign there is important. Also, the spacing is important here. If you write down minus space World War I, it brings up entirely different results. So when you're using plus or minus, you just want to go minus and then the word straight after it. Don't leave a space. Otherwise, that will tend to sort of not look at the negative sign or plus sign at all. Okay, moving on to another couple of areas. I'm just going to go back to the front of the document. Plus signs. Okay, here's another real gem of an idea. Google Scholar. This is one that a lot of people don't really use, and it's one of the things that sits in behind Google. And what it is that Google Scholar will use articles that are coming from basically like academic sources. So here we've got a little bit of information here, and so you can search from articles that come from abstracts, court opinions, books, thesis, okay, professional societies, online repositories, and universities, and a lot of academic institutions. So with some of the features in Google Scholar, you'll see that you're going to pull up quite different results. So there's how we'd go in the Google Scholar. Here I've typed in now Google Scholar on Tsar Nicholas, and noticing now we're getting quite a lot of different sort of resources here, and these are going to be related back to specific books, or they're going to be related to abstracts or educational institutions and that there. So you're going to get some very good quality resources using Google Scholar. Probably the only thing about that is that sometimes that might be a far higher reading level for those. But again, when you want to get articles from journals, you definitely would go Google Scholar, which is going to eliminate all the other things you've got there. Jumping back, so Google Scholar is an important one to use. Jumping back now to our initial hyperlinks, you can use some site codes or file codes, file type codes there, and that can be important. Let's have a look at some of them. Okay, here we're looking at a specific site code, and because I'm talking about Russian conflict, maybe it would be good to get a perspective from Russia. So you'd need to find first of all what the site code is for Russia. Now I've guessed it correctly, saying it should be RU. So I'm going to write in site RU and then see what happens when I talk about maybe Stalin and conflict. So note how we sort of do this. So here I've written in my search engine Stalin and conflict, and then I've got site .ru. No spaces, be careful here. And now look what we're bringing up. We're now bringing up a search in which all of the information is coming just from a Russian source. So this could be very worthwhile depending on if you're getting different opinion. So these are all going to be RU, so it's all going to be from a Russian source. So that's an important one using site codes. And again, if you don't know the site code of the country, go online and Google site codes and you'll bring up all of the codes. So you don't really need to know them. Another one there is looking at, again on a site code, rather than just a country code like RU, you can look at a type of domain name. So this one here is going to say, well, let's look at Stalin and conflict, but site edu, so it's only going to pick up the educational sites. Again, how you typed in Stalin and conflict site .edu, and now look at the search results we get for this. These are all actually coming up from an educational institution only. So again, this will be a really nice way of searching some quality information using an educational institution. Okay, so that's an important one using your site codes there. Okay, two more to go, and I'm going to look at file types similar to your site code. And again, probably not as helpful for your assignment for this one, but could be for later on, is that here I'm looking at Stalin and conflict. This time I've typed in file type. So in other words, I'm basically asking it to search on Stalin and conflict, but only give me file types of PPT. So that is a PowerPoint, or it might be XLS, being Excel. Or, okay, so you can see here now is that all the files that we come up here are all PowerPoints. So again, a very nice way of confining our search. The last one I'm going to cover down here has got not much to do with Google, but it is one that we subscribe to. This is a database, our library page as well. This tells you sort of things that are available. So history would be really useful for what we're going to do today if we're looking at the conflict idea. Now, what are eNotes? I've just given up a little very quick synopsis of what it's about. Thousands of students, teachers, professors are using this help to study smarter and know their stuff. What it is basically the people who are producing the answers are all educators. They're all teachers and professionals who have signed up to this website to say, okay, when the students or teachers throw up a question, I'll provide a good quality answer to it. So this is why we use eNotes. So it's a really nice one. We've got to subscribe to it, so you've got to remember your password, girls. And you'll notice there is that they do provide a nice little concise statement answering things. So sometimes this could be a good starting point to say, well, give me a bit of an overview of what we're talking about. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this video and you can put some of these into place and therefore be far more efficient when you're searching material on the web. I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.